business news from the Capital Region. This is Washington Business Report with ABC7 national correspondent Rebecca Cooper.
Welcome to this week's Fresh Look at Business and Finance here in the Washington region. We hope you're having a great 4th of July weekend. Coming up on today's show, how impact investing is transforming the business of philanthropy. And what's your real technological age? There's a big divide in the workplace. We'll tell you the key to staying current no matter your age. Plus, our roundtable tackles some of the hot conversations you may be missing in the business world this week. But first, President Obama announced at the White House last week he wants all hands on deck for a new form of investment called impact investing. The idea is creating investments that generate a good financial return while at the same time doing good, making an impact either socially or environmentally. So this week we're talking the business of philanthropy. Tamara Copeland is the president of the Washington Regional Area Grantmakers. David Bowers is the vice president at Enterprise Community Partners. And Patricia Mathews is the president and CEO of the Northern Virginia Health Foundation. Welcome to you all. Tamara, let me start with you since you're kind of the grande dame of grant making. You bring together organizations large and small to help them make sure they're getting the best bang for their buck. Let's talk about the impact philanthropy's had in the Washington region, because even if you're not giving, you're benefiting.
That's right.
We talked before the show, the H Street corridor. Talk about that and how it was transformed through philanthropy.
That's a great example. It's Jane Lang. She came to H Street and looked at the area, saw how devastated the area was, essentially looked the way it had looked in the late 60s with the riots. Just had a vision of what could happen if the Atlas Theater was brought back to life, not just as a theater, but as a whole arts performing center. Invested money there, brought in partners, brought in the government, brought in other philanthropic partners, and we all know what H Street's like today.
It was the turning point.
That's exactly right.
I used to go there every year because it was the DMV office that you could shortcut the lines.
Yes.
But it was a scary trip, and I really doubted whether one theater could make a difference, but you can't even recognize the area anymore today.
Philanthropy is doing bricks and mortar, but it's also doing all kinds of other investments in the community.
But then we hit the recession and things got hard all over and everyone had to make do with less. But out of that, I'd say, came innovation. More and more donors are looking to see how they can get the best bang for their buck, but the organizations are making sure that they're using their dollars wisely. Talk about that.
Well, I think that what you'll see is foundations coming together. That it's not just about one foundation, that there are lots of collaboratives. There's one in particular that's looking at how do you do community wealth building? How do you actually help a individual, economic development for an individual? And how do you have ownership of businesses? We talk a lot about creating jobs for people, but this is about creating ownership. So there's a group of funders who've come together and done research on how they can invest in building businesses that are owned by low-income people.
Tell us the name of that organization.
It's called Community Wealth Building.
So let's turn to David, because David, your organization, I want you to tell us more about what you all do in terms of housing, but I also want you to talk about how you all are really harnessing this idea of impact investing that the White House has been touting.
Sure, absolutely. Thanks for having us on the show today. So we at Enterprise provide financial capital as well as policy work that helps provide acquisition, development, long-term financing support for developers who are doing affordable housing. A lot of folks in the business community will talk about ROI, return on investment. We like to think of impact investing as an RLI, where you get a return for the investor, they're leveraging their money, and they can look at having an impact. So we have been aggregating capital to leverage not only the private bank capital that we often use, but also providing a platform for foundations, as Tamara made reference to, and individuals to invest and pool their capital that can then be relent to for-profit and nonprofit developers around the region. And we've got some great examples of how we've been able at Enterprise through our impact note, our community impact note, to use that capital to support affordable housing projects like Jubilee Housing's Maycroft property in the Mount Pleasant, Columbia Heights neighborhood in a highly gentrified, high-cost area, and they've been able to preserve affordable housing and provide a child and teen development center, as well as NHT Enterprise Corporation providing a solar array for over 300 units of housing, so making that affordable housing more energy efficient in neighborhoods from Anacostia to U Street.
Patricia, your organization is very results oriented, and I like how on the website, in the letter from the CEO, which would be you, you talk about how you all have really tried to, in the years since the recession, sharpen your focus so that you can get the most return on investment through health care coverage. Tell us, first of all, what your organization does, and then talk about a little about how you've evolved in the years since the recession.
We're a private foundation that focuses on the health and health care of the residents in Northern Virginia. We have a particular emphasis on folks who are uninsured and who are low income. And for a lot of people in Northern Virginia, quite surprisingly, that's a large number.
Well, you would hope that the whole idea of the Affordable Health Care Act would be that you all would get to go out of business, but that's not the case. You still have many people and many needs that you need to serve. So talk a little bit about how you, as the CEO, took a business approach to looking at all the many demands on your services and really focus those so that you could get the most return on your investment.
Well, as a result of the recession, we really decided that we wanted the very few important safety net clinics that exist in Northern Virginia to keep their doors open. So rather than having general requests for proposals and sort of giving away small amounts of money, we really intentionally invested in a few very good clinics to help them build their capacity. And they are now seeing more people.
Tamara, what are some of the mistakes that you see grant givers make in terms of not taking a business-minded approach to philanthropy, and what are some of the ways that you all have been able to teach your members how to be more business-minded in giving?
You know, I think that that Grantmakers really are business-minded. That just as the business community is looking for a financial profit, the foundation community is looking for a social profit. In fact, they've started talking about not referring to these organizations as nonprofits, but referring to them as social profits. So they too are looking for
a good new name.
It's a good name, I think. They're looking for a return on their investment.
David, any examples of best practices that you all could teach the business world in the way that you do your business?
Sure, absolutely. I think we at Enterprise, the way we've been looking to aggregate that capital, providing a platform where people know that their money, again, will be leveraged with other capital, which is critical. So you know that it's not just your money that's making a difference. The fact that we oftentimes provide technical assistance to the developers that we end up re-lending and investing with is good. And so folks like us, the Calvert Foundation also has been at this business for a long time. There's some good folks out here who provide good rigor in terms of technical assistance to the folks we lend with and aggregating capital, again, public and private.
Patricia, we got to wrap, but I want to ask you some any examples of best practices that you employ that you could teach a thing or two to the business world?
I think we spend a lot of time on systems change. It's not just about the money, but it's helping organizations and in some instances local government improve the way they do business.
Disruption being the big word in the business community. So you're a disruptor in the way that healthcare is delivered.
Exactly.
Very good. Thank you so much for joining us, talking about the business of philanthropy. I hope you have a happy 4th of July weekend, and thanks for teaching us how we can better employ our time. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Well, coming up, our small business spotlight, how to grow old gracefully in the workplace while keeping up with the young techies. That's next on Washington Business Report.